politicians. Of course, you are very familiar with Mr. Paul Ibe. I go into my presentation. I would like to congratulate you, and in particular the chairman of the PDP press corps. We received a very sad news last night about the son of our brother, David Adeleke, also known as Davido. It was such a sad news. David has been very, very good to PDP. He almost single-handedly handed Osun State to us. So please, let us all pray for the Adeleke family at this very difficult time. Gentlemen and ladies of the press, of which I'm proudly a member, I welcome you to this gathering in our political discourse. Like all things good in Nigeria, the PDP is the center of innovation in our great country. We have decided to engage you on a regular basis as part of Atiku Abubakar's commitment to the Nigerian people and a free press. There are many false narratives out there, and Nigerians expect each and every one of you to fulfill the responsibility of correcting them. Democracy can only succeed and thrive when the press provides sanity in the public domain. The press and the judiciary are the checks to the excesses and balance to extreme tendencies in politics. I want to say that our heart continues to go out to the flood victims across the country who have had to face and endure personal losses on the unfortunate disaster. Our principal, the presidential candidate of our party, Atiku Abubakar GCON, and his vice presidential candidate, Governor Senator Ifeanyi Chukwu Arthur Okowa, empathize with the flood victims, and we commend the resilience and doggedness of our people in the face of this unprecedented calamity and suffering occasioned by the disaster. Our principals want to also use this opportunity to commend and thank all those who heeded their call and plea for humanitarian assistance, support, and donation of relief materials to all victims seriously impacted by this flooding. They have further called on individuals and corporate organizations yet to support to do so. You are all aware that our principals themselves have not only visited flood victims across the country, but they have also thrown in their widows' might towards the succor of the victims, and will continue to do so. Our candidate is deeply concerned by the cost of living crisis, which is daily worsened by the hyperinflation on Nigerians by the ineptitude of the APC administration. We are, however, assuring Nigerians that help is on the way, as the policies enunciated with the policy document, our covenant with Nigerians, will not only bring Nigeria out of poverty, but also herald an era of prosperity and sustainable development in the PDP government come 2023. The economy and the kitchen table issues, as the Americans will say, remain a focal point of the PDP recovery agenda. The PDP and our presidential flag bearers are worried by the unabating insecurity in the country. The recent security alert by some foreign embassies and missions in Nigeria, though dismissed as unwarranted by the government, are just a sad reminder of the perilous time we are in at the moment. We call on security agencies to be at the top of their game to ensure that none of the scary scenarios painted by the security alert come to pass, while we also caution Nigerians to remain very vigilant. The declaration by the Central Bank of Nigeria last week that it was going to redesign some denominations in the Naira has expectedly generated varied reactions from Nigerians. Already, the value of the Naira has plummeted since the announcement, and efforts must be intensified to address the decline in the value of the Naira. The economy, which is on its bended knees at the moment, can hardly afford further devaluation of the Nigerian currency. Last Friday, our principal, Atiku Abubakar GCON, was at the United States of America, where he held council meetings with officials of the U.S. Department of State. The visit was a means of strengthening bilateral partnership with the U.S. on the economy, poverty reduction, and the fight against insecurity. The insight gotten from that visit will enable our candidate and the PDP to deliver on our promises to the people of Nigeria when it comes to power next year through a seamless partnership with the government of the United States. The integrity of the forthcoming elections next year must remain a subject of concern to all lovers of democracy. President Muhammadu Buhari has promised to deliver an election that is free, fair, and credible. We appreciate what you do for us day in, day out. That is why we have come this afternoon, and by the grace of God, on a weekly basis, we promise to make sure that we interface with you. We now allow you to take some questions, and then we will respond accordingly. Thank you so much. Number three is that there is a world of difference between Atiku Abubakar and our president at the time, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan. The difference being that you know that in all elections, even in the United States, there's what they call the race factor. In Nigeria, we call it ethnicity. So that is why you have such words as some people are minority, some people are majority. What you have today is a candidate, one, who is the most experienced Nigerian politician around today in the race. Number two, the most networked candidate in the race today. Number three is that our governors who are angry cannot say they are angry because PDP is in government and not delivering on promises. The case is about personal issues, that I lost an election and I'm not happy with the election. So you will now need to carry your people along, that when you contested, was there any guarantee that you were going to be the candidate? So that is why PDP continues to engage with them. Our candidate has met with them at home and abroad, and we continue to dialogue with them. So whether they now agree to work or not, PDP is already way ahead of its campaign. There is no other party today that has succeeded in doing that. We are way ahead, and we continue to run what they call the loneliness of a long-distance runner. You keep running, you must not look back. So we are running, and we will continue to engage anyone who is not happy with us. Yes, madam. I will start from the rear. Atiku Abubakar does not have the capacity or the legal right to remove the national chairman of PDP. That's not his job. I've given an analogy in the past. There is a game between Manchester United and Arsenal. Arsenal won, and Man U is complaining that the referee was partial. And then Man U comes and says Arsenal should sack the referee. It doesn't work that way. So that's number one. Number two is that PDP does not have, nobody can level accusation of marginalization against PDP. I don't know about any other party. Between 1999 and 2007, we had President Olusegun Obasanjo from the Southwest. From 2007 to 2010, we had President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, who spent about 3 years. And then his vice president, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, took over and completed their term. After he completed it, no northerner stopped him from contesting for his own term. He contested and he won. So that gave him a total of 5 years. After that, he contested again. Nobody stopped him from contesting, but he lost. So the last presidential candidate before Atiku's candidacy in 2019 was a southerner. So we have represented Southwest, we have represented South-South. So how can anybody today in good conscience complain about marginalization? And I'm insisting, I was part of that primary. We all agreed that whosoever wins, we will support him. This talk about marginalizing the South only came after some people did not win. So when they say marginalization, I don't know, everybody, I didn't come here to dwell on this issue again, but I'm just trying to let you know that PDP has been extremely good to Nigeria. Yes, compare all the indices of development between PDP and APC. And if you want to talk about the economy, I have an expert here who will be willing to take your questions on the economy. So whatever questions you want to ask, feel very free. So marginalization only came, okay, so if they had made some people vice president, for example, we won't be talking about this. And I remember at that time, I was one of those who warned that we should not pursue this angle of marginalization because PDP had a good defense. Obasanjo, Jonathan. There were people who didn't even want Jonathan to run for a second term of his own. Yet PDP allowed him to run. So what more are we going to do? So today, we threw open the race and we all agreed. Nobody at that stage complained. If I didn't like the idea of throwing it open, I would not have contested. But once I agreed to contest, I should know that I will either win or lose. That is the game of politics. So we will continue to appeal to them that, look, don't destroy the bridge after you have crossed the bridge. Because you don't know, you might need that bridge again. Thank you. I don't think we can have a more closed door than this. Everybody who is here, is there any stranger here that you have recognized? Yeah. There are strangers? Of course, yes. I only sent to the chairman, our chairman, Mr. Ogidon. Did I not tell you? Yeah, we didn't discriminate against any Nigerian. And they're all young people, entrepreneurs, and we were giving them little grants. One guy from Taraba said from the grant we gave him, started selling kerosene. Today he's a kerosene merchant, he's employing people. We're touching lives. So I know how to speak their language. I know how to connect to them. And this team that you have in front of you our duty is to ensure that we carry our message of hope, message of restoration to these young ones. Yeah, you spoke about a particular political party. Of course, when a party has been in power for the number of years that have been in power, there are people who will see us as fatigued, who will see us as old, but our job is to tell them that Nigeria today is in a precarious state, and if we do not have an experienced person to manage it, the prediction that Nigeria will collapse can happen easily. So that is why we are saying, look, we do not have time for experiment and experimentation. You need a man who can hit the ground running from day one. You need the man who knows every part of it. There is no candidate today, and you can challenge me, who has had a national assignment amongst the candidates. Maybe Rabiu Kwankwaso, but you can know that even at that ministerial. But you are talking about the most effective, the most productive vice president ever in the history of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar. And a man who has been able to employ young people from every part of Nigeria. His personal physician, I always say it, I'd like to cite his example, because I knew him right from Aso Rock when Oga was vice president, Dr. Ndukwe. He didn't say you're an Igbo man, so you can't be my doctor, I don't trust you. How much more can you trust a man if you put your life in his hands? Dr. Ndukwe has been with him for 24 years. See, our Mazi Polibe, that is who he is. So the young people, we will make sure that in the next couple of weeks, they can see the beauty of having an experienced man. You see, don't get carried away by sophistry. It is very easy for me to come here and say I can do this and do that. But the person who can tell you what he can do is what he has done in his private and public life. And that is Atiku Abubakar. Thank you, sir. Madam, amongst our press corps from PDP here, and this is a professional team, we don't seem to have a lot of women. You see, we know, I can see your capacity, you can... Nobody can intimidate you, you know, but on a serious note, we have women working with us. Don't forget that we are in the campaign season, and people are going in. Even I flew in from Lagos this morning just to be here. So you will see the women, and that's a challenge to us, and I will make sure that you see them. Nobody will discuss security in public. Nobody. Security, that's why it is called security. It's a secret work. And those who should do it, they are doing it. That is why you will not see pictures of his meeting inside the State House. But we brought out names of the different department heads that he met with. They were published. So he is working quietly. Slow and steady wins the race. Our candidate is busy round the clock because, one, he has the experience, two, he has the network, he knows who to talk to, and he knows what to say to them. He has the register, what we call register in literature, the right kind of communication. A lot of people, if they represent Nigeria, they might disgrace our country because they don't know, they don't have the experience. So you need a man who is sober, who is well comported, and who is visionary. Atiku Abubakar will tell you that all that is left for him is to deliver a legacy. That's all. It's about legacy. On Wike, I've not added magic, you see, and one of our greatest women is here. How are you, doctor? Yes, I'm sure she will. I told you that we have women all over the offices here. If you go there, in fact, the offices of women are so big. I saw one yesterday, I was so jealous. I didn't know such an office existed. Seriously. So, I have not added magic to my job. So, I want to appeal to you that I don't have any deadline for when Governor Wike will come down for us. Thank you.
Time. I think it's important we understand why we have invited you here this afternoon. The PDP and its leadership is very much disturbed about the level of poverty in Nigeria. And that the APC-led administration is doing very badly in trying to help our people to get out of trouble. That's why we have invited you. And we are going to give you the alternative to be able to reverse this ugly development. You can see the latest, which is the change, what they call a change in the color, whatever you call it, of our currency. A house is falling. Instead of bringing people to take steps to restructure the house and make it stand, you decide to begin to paint the house, as if that is the solution to bring the house back to where it is. Our naira today, you see, it has no value even in the hands of our people. That is why we have invited you, to let you understand what is happening and what we are going to do to make it work. We have said, in spite of what you see as challenges in our party, that we are already moving on. The train has left the station, which is why we are campaigning. We are the only party that have gone to 3 states to campaign officially. None of the other political parties have been able to do that. It's only the other day that one of the parties met somewhere in Nasarawa, and of course you saw the outcome in terms of the gathering. And so if we have been able to move with the train, we are also ready at any given time to stop at relevant train stations to pick up new passengers, including those who are reluctant to join at the moment. So the PDP is very much willing to move ahead. It's not about timeline because nothing is stopping us. Our presidential candidate and his running mate, and indeed the leadership of the party, is very much interested in recovering our country for where we are today. His visit to the US is because we have got economic policies that speaks to the need to bring jobs back to our people. And whether you like it or not, the greatest economy in the world today is the United States of America. And so if you want to make a difference, you must be able to discuss with the masters, both for the purpose of attracting foreign direct investment and for the purpose of taking steps that will help you strengthen the naira that has collapsed very, very badly. And so Atiku did not go to US because he wanted to prove that he can enter the US. He has gone to US because he has said that from day one, he will start working by the grace of God when elected. And that for him to start working from that day one, he needs to begin to engage strategically because you need some form of multilateral and bilateral interactions with those who know what to do. And that is what we are doing at the moment. Of course, we have mentioned what we have done with the flood. My boss here have also kept you abreast with other developments that we engage in, whether it's in the area of security. You do know that some of the security equipment that we're using came also from the United States of America, particularly the Tucano jets. So if we are engaging with that, you know that it is aimed at strengthening our policy so that from day one, we are able to take off. So please help us in talking less about those things that we have already moved beyond. We have moved past some of those things. We are very much willing at any given time that individuals want to join our train, for them to join. What is most important is that we have got a mission to recover this country from where it is at the moment, irrespective of the stand of any other person. And then for what my brother said, there's enough time for us to be able to engage with you as our colleagues who have indeed continued to partner with us so that we're able to address some of those challenges that you have raised. Indeed, there could be challenges, either because we are trying to put things together, but I can tell you, like my boss here said, it is not, the time is not past for us to be able to look at those other issues that are outside what we have come here to discuss this afternoon. But we must appreciate you for all the support you have continued to give to us, and we look forward to more support, because in that, we are able to bring our country to winning ways, and that is what Atiku wants to do. It is not about the argument as to those who just want to promise hopelessness. They call it renewed hope, but I can tell you it's renewed hopelessness, because it is a different thing if the hope was inexistent. There is no hope at the moment. So how can you come and reinforce that hopelessness? And that is what the APC is promising you. If we had hope, our naira will not be where it is today. If we had hope, our people will not begin to lose jobs on a daily basis. If we had hope, we will not have a situation where our brothers and sisters in the villages begin to think of how to travel outside this country. What we want to do is to halt that hopelessness. And they cannot come on board and begin to talk about renewed hope, because indeed, it is renewed hopelessness. But for us, it is about recovery, and we're determined to recover this country for it to work for each and every one of you. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. And the ruling party has always come up with, or recent, they've been coming up with all sorts of excuses. They cite COVID-19, they cite the Ukraine war, they cite, there's so many issues. But I keep on reminding them that in 1999, when the Obasanjo and Atiku administration started, Nigeria was in a worse economic situation. Our foreign reserves was just less than $3 billion. Oil price was less than $17 a barrel. Our external debt was $35 billion. But it set to work. And by 2002, within 3 years of the administration, Nigeria became the fastest growing economy in Africa. And this was not just done by a mistake, it was done deliberately, right? And so when people are giving an excuse that this is happening, I'm like, okay, was it done then that they were able to turn around the economy from an economy that was growing at 0.8% in 1999, and it went up to 16.2% in 2002, making it the fastest growing economy in the world at that point in time. You know? So there are solutions to all these things. And luckily for us, the person that was controlling the head of the economic team or was in charge of the economy is now back in government today, or is now back asking for a mandate. But look, there is a problem now, we've done this thing before, let us do it again. And today is even far more experienced than it was then. And it clearly knows the solutions because it's been there before. If you look at, even if I go to the site, the difference in Nigeria between 2015 and today, I mean, how much the economy has just died. Just this morning we heard that Naira is now doing about 870 to the dollar. A couple of years ago it was just about 160 to the dollar in 2015 before this administration took over. If you look at the cost of basic food items, like a bag of rice, 8,000 naira before, now we're talking about 43,000, 44,000 naira for the same food item. The cost of, I don't even want to go into the cost of fuel, diesel, there's so many issues. But the truth is that we've had, I won't even call it a poor management, we've had a non-management of the economy. The economy has not been addressed at all. It's as if the current administration, they don't even have an interest in it, other than paying lip service to it. And this is an issue we need to take very, very seriously because that is what affects the common man. That's what matters to the most people, what they eat, how they take care of their children, how they pay their rent, the welfare of the people. And that's what governance is all about. We have to be able to address those issues. And it's not something I'm going to address with rhetorics or, propaganda or just playing to the gallery. You need somebody that is experienced, that's done before, has a plan. A plan, for most politicians, most politicians have plans or manifestos anyway, but how many of them really fully understand what is in their manifestos? And that's why I have confidence in Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. His own manifesto, he owns it. If you question anything in that manifesto, he would defend it because he is a part of it. He is the chief architect of the plan. He knows what he's doing and he knows the road. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You that women are comfortable in Atiku as the president of Nigeria. So we need to complain before you help us to amplify. Really, we are not complaining. We are very happy. For one, we've always been looking for inclusion. Inclusion not just as Minister for Women Affairs, but in the real crux of the matter, where governance is concerned. Atiku Abubakar is the kind of president that can make a woman chief of staff and those kind of positions because he trusts in capability, competence, and your ability to deliver. This I can tell you because I was his director for delegates mobilization in 2018. We all know the position the director of delegate takes. That is the whole heart of his presidential ambition. I held that position. In 2022, I held the same position and delivered Atiku Abubakar. And that is what women of Nigeria, Nigerian women have been looking for, and we have found in Atiku. We are very comfortable. We have booked our ticket to remain with Atiku, and by Atiku we shall stand. We no longer want to go with a president that promises, I will want to see, I have, and I will do more. And that is the kind of person Atiku Abubakar is. Secondly, women have always been seen as the poor gender from the economic aspect. Atiku Abubakar is the person that has invested his own money in a microfinance bank to specifically give loans, soft loans to women. It is there to verify. And his microfinance bank gave more than 80% of loans to women, and they have paid back. And this is the kind of president women want. A president who has done and can do more, not a president who says, I will, or a president who takes away everything and keeps women hanging on empty promises. And in another thing, Atiku grew up as an orphan. He lost his father at a very early age. Atiku is that compassionate person, that blessed child that didn't come with a silver spoon. He's a sign of hope to every Nigerian soul that you can be where you want to be if you work hard on it. And your resilience will be the ticket to take you to wherever you want to be. He didn't come with a silver spoon, but his hard work and blessing from Almighty God, because he grew up as a child with empathy. He took care of his mother. At the age of 15, Atiku Abubakar bought a hut for his mother so that they can find a place to live, because they were so poor. They never had a place to sleep in. Look at where he is today. So this is the kind of president we want, the empathic leader, the visionary leader with the empathy to look through the mirror of life and see the position, the predicament Nigerian women and their children are facing. The person that will keep our children in school. For 6 months, children didn't go to school. But Atiku Abubakar has had his university for over 20 years. Their lecturers have never been on strike. Whatever magic he did to keep his school running, I think he deserves applause. He deserves an accolade for that. And this is why we believe in his ability to be able to take care of the problem Nigeria's predicament is causing upon Nigerian citizens, because he has done it for himself. So when he says he's going to do it for Nigeria, we can all have every reason to believe, not a president that will say, I will, without seeing in reality, can he do it? Again, Atiku Abubakar is the kind of president that when he speaks, he fulfills. And we need that visionary leader that will restore our confidence, our dignity as Nigerians. Atiku is the president for everybody. If you can allow somebody to cook your food, not from your ethnic group, not from your religion, then Atiku is the very person that Nigeria needs as a unifier of today, of this moment, because Nigerian patriotism has all gone away. We have become hopeless. We are becoming more hopeless by the day because we don't even trust each other. We need a president that will bring us back as a country, that very strong elephant that people used to dare, that people used to respect, that the world respected. The currency that when you take anywhere in the world, you'll be respected. The green cover, we want the dignity of Nigerians to return. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, believe me, you can see through my eyes, I am not lying. Honestly, in Atiku Abubakar as the president of Nigeria, I think women will be better for them. Thank you very much.